Could Pyongyang's decision to stand down be linked to President Trump's recent turn down in rhetoric? Brian Becker is here to provide some insight. He has visited the DPRK several times and serves as the executive director of the Answer Coalition, an anti-war and international relations group. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So, we had 2 weeks of this back and forth war of words. Now we have this break in the bolstering. What led to that de-escalation? Was it Trump's words?
No, I think Trump is the ultimate provocateur. I don't think we needed to be where we are now. I mean, Trump's constant threats against the DPRK, they don't make the DPRK's knees shake. I mean, the DPRK went through a war with the United States. It actually, along with China, pushed the United States down below the 38th parallel. The regime has gone through a lot, so they're not going to buckle. But they don't know whether to take Donald Trump seriously. Is it bluster? Is it bluff? Or is it serious? And so then you must prepare for the worst. The U.S. is sending B-1B bombers, the Cadillac of the most destructive part of the Air Force, from Guam to North Korea, simulating the possible destruction of North Korea. North Korea thus says, well, guess what? We'll send missiles back. You have a plan for preemptive war? Well, we can have a plan for preemptive war. So both sides have climbed the escalation ladder. I think South Korea's government and now the North Korean government have stepped one step down on that ladder because, of course, neither of them want war.
So why the turnaround from Kim Jong Un? He did say that a launch could still happen if, quote, the Yankees persist in their extremely dangerous, reckless actions. What made him change his mind?
Well, I think that the North Korean military establishment and the political leadership, Kim Jong Un, they don't really know whether or not there's a sector of the U.S. government, the U.S. political establishment, that has come to the conclusion that war with North Korea is in fact inevitable, which happened during the Cold War when some elements within the Pentagon said we must bomb China because if China has a nuclear weapon, we can never coexist with that. Ultimately, of course, they did. But there was a segment that said war is inevitable. Let's have it now rather than later because the enemy is weaker now. They'll get stronger later. So I think the DPRK is a little bit uncertain about that. But they're not going to bend, they're not going to bow, they're not going to give up their nuclear weapons. But they have offered again to suspend or freeze nuclear tests and missile tests in exchange for a moratorium on war exercises conducted by the U.S. and South Korea that simulate the destruction of their country. Will Washington respond? If they do, I think North Korea will reciprocate.
How is the ROK in China? They're watching all of this happen in front of them. The ROK president issued a blunt warning to the United States. The president did in a televised speech. How are they reading into this?
Well, the South Korean government, Moon Jae-in, knows that their government, his government, is not fully sovereign. 30,000 American troops occupy South Korea. They have for more than a half a century. They put the THAAD deployment in before he took office. I mean, that was clearly an indication that the U.S. was dictating the terms, even though there was a new president coming in who was skeptical about that. Moon Jae-in realizes that his country has limited sovereignty. He's telling Washington, don't you dare initiate a conflict which will lead our people, in the millions perhaps, to die without getting our consent first. But does he have complete authority? Not totally, because, again, an occupied country, a country with foreign soldiers on its soil, isn't really fully sovereign.
10 seconds left. How does this play out in the coming days, coming weeks?
There's a moment of great opportunity here. If the United States takes it, we could have, from this crisis, the opportunity for a new road in U.S.-Korean relations. That's before us. Will Trump do it? We don't know, but that's what's before us.
Brian Becker, thanks for your analysis.
Thank you.